Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to do a short breakdown of The Last of Us episode 3 of season 1 review. That was an actually good storyline, and I said, like, the other day with the grandstand and stuff like that, where I was talking about, Hollywood pushing kind of woke agendas and stuff like that, or, gay agendas and whatnot, trans stuff like that, whatever the case be, for no other reason than because it's fucking agenda is what it is, and they're trying to, confuse people and shit like that, or, fuck with kids' heads and stuff like that is what it is for the most part a lot of times. The thing of it was, though, this was not that. You had Nick Offerman, and you had some other dude playing the characters of Bill and Frank, respectively, and it was a good storyline, honestly, dude. Like, yeah, was it gay? Yes. Was it whatever? Yeah. It didn't really matter though, dude. Is what it is. Like, that's the thing. And this is what I'm saying when it comes to good writing, is what it is, dude. The problem is with most stuff in Hollywood, you have the overrepresentation is what it is there. Whereas this was basically just, hey, there's a dude who's a survivalist guy who then, meets another dude who's trying to survive and stuff like that, and they eventually become, lovers and whatever the case be then. And it was a good episode, actually. Like, it was interesting because obviously you had the go between the main characters and these characters, what it was. And interestingly enough, had Bella Ramsey, the chick that plays Ellie in this series, if she was underage, I could have seen them totally doing this episode just for the fact that she couldn't have been on set for X amount of time or whatever because of age requirements and stuff like that. But I know she's like 19 or 20, I think it was what it is right now, or something like that. So that shouldn't matter at all. But yeah, it was interesting to me because they had basically like 5 minutes at the beginning of the episode was Joel and Ellie together, and then it was basically almost the rest of the episode was Bill and Frank's storyline, and then it ended with fucking Joel and Ellie again. So, but yeah, it was pretty cool though. I enjoyed it personally. I thought it was really, really well done. Honestly, it really does show like the overall fortitude and willingness of a single individual, like what they would do, to like essentially hide from government tyranny and then basically be like, no, I'm just living my own kind of thing is what it is, dude. And that's the thing. Like, for the most part, that's what it was. Like I would say about probably like a good like quarter of the episode of Bill's storyline, which was, Nick Offerman and stuff like that, was essentially just him basically surviving for years on his own is what it was. And then eventually he met Frank, and, the two of them, sort of connected pretty early on is what it was the first day there. And then they eventually were together for, almost 20 years after that's what it was. I think it was the overall story arc was basically you had 2003 was the onset of the virus and stuff like that. And I want to say it was like 2007 or something like that was the jump that they did to begin with. And that was where Bill met Frank. And then it was 2010 and then 13 and then, current year 2023 is what it is, which is interesting because if you actually play the game The Last of Us, the actual outbreak is not until 2013, and the actual current time period in game is 2033. So it's like a decade longer than we're in right now, is what it is. I understand it though from the perspective of doing it the other way though, because it's like, oh yeah, current year and pandemics and all the other shit like that. And I think that's really what it is. Honestly, let's play on that kind of thing is what it is. But sorry, internet decided to take a shit there for a minute. It's still not too good right now. Okay, wait a minute here. All right, there it goes. So yeah, as I was saying though, having not played the games, having actually watched the series so far, episode 1 was like sort of like that for me. Episode 2, I did not like at all. Honestly, it seemed like it was very boring. I feel like other people were like, "Oh, it was okay" or whatever. It's like, no, it really wasn't. Like it was just literally a bunch of people walking through a fucking city, basically the entire episode. But this third episode was actually good because you had people who, you know, you basically had like a gist of a storyline, and then you had like an actual like good like backstory for like a whole arc in the time span of episode is what it was. And that's my thing. Like, I think this was better than the second one and the first one too, as well, because of the fact you had the ability to actually have like, you know, flushed out character story arcs is what it was. Whereas with, you know, other stories or other storylines and stuff like that, it's like stupid shit is what it is, dude. And the thing is, like, I feel like with this one, like, you could basically, like, did they honestly have to do like a gay storyline here for this? Not really. That being said, did it work for the episode? Yes, it did. Honestly, like, was it like that? And that's the thing too. Like, was it really like pushing like way past the point of like certain things? Just a little bit in the one. It was about 10 seconds of a scene. Honestly, is what I'd say on that one, where it did have like, you know, gay sex kind of deals. What it was, but even that was just basically like sort of brushed off then after the fact. Like it went to a certain point, and it was just like, okay, now it time jumps again. Is what it was. And other than that, like, yeah, it was just two dudes like, you know, sharing a few kisses and stuff like that on set is what it was then. So for me personally, it's whatever, honestly, in this case, man. You know, it's not like that fucking Wolfpack show I was watching the other day where it was literally like, you know, it's about a fucking bunch of werewolves, and then halfway through you just have some dude meeting up with some dude at a fucking rave to have gay sex or whatever in the corner and shit like that. Like, again, that kind of shit is them pushing an agenda in Hollywood. Whereas this storyline for The Last of Us was not that. It was the total opposite of that. It was tasteful gay stuff, is what it was, dude. And that's the thing. If you're gonna do it, if you're gonna do a story arc, do a tastefully gay story arc or whatever the case be, dude. And you know, go from there. Like, actually have like good writers and flush out the fucking characters and stuff like that. Don't be like, oh, how do we have characters actually intertwine with each other? Let's just have them meet up and fuck each other. And that's the thing. It's not even just like gay either, for that matter. It's like anything in Hollywood. You know, you look at that from any perspective of anything in the fucking in the backgrounds of most TV series and stuff like that, or various movies and stuff like that. It's literally like that's what half the characters are, dude. It's like, okay, how are we going to have these people actually have like what you call it? Oh, just have them fuck. Like, that's kind of how it was a little bit for Glenn and Maggie in The Walking Dead, a little bit there, and there's other characters as well in that one, dude. But you know, obviously, over the time of the Walking Dead series, you actually had Glenn and Maggie then flush out a storyline after the fact, is what it was. Whereas that's the problem. Then, um, doing certain things is what it is. So I'm going to address specifically this comment. So the thing is, right? Okay. So the problem with what I'm mentioning here is it's not that you're doing different things to push agendas. What it is you're pushing, it's specifically looking back at, what was it, like 2000, fuck, I'm trying to think of the time period now. It was a few years ago, like 2018, 19, somewhere in there. You had GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance people, come out and specifically say, we want number of X representation in Hollywood for gay and lesbian, transgender, etc. people, is what it is. And I think it was something like 50% of the characters needed to be that thing. Like, that's what they asked for, basically. And that's what I'm saying. That's an agenda push. When you're having that many gay characters in series and stuff like that, dude, when there's not many gay people in America or across this fucking world for that matter, like, that's a huge fucking problem. That's the agenda they're pushing. That's the woke agenda they're pushing, is what it is. But that's the big difference, though. And like I said, when it comes to that Wolfpack show, that first episode, it was to have it in like shoehorned in there for no other reason than it was just two gay dudes. You know, it did nothing to progress the storyline at all. Whereas this episode of The Last of Us, episode 3 here, it was the entire storyline pretty much, and it actually made sense because they flushed out the characters with it. And to me, there's a difference between pushing it and not pushing it, and that's the thing. This episode really wasn't pushing it because it was just like, okay, it's just two characters, whatever. You know, it could have been two women characters. It could have been two, you know, a guy and a girl, for that matter, honestly. Didn't really matter, honestly. But that's the entire point. You had a flushed out storyline that actually made sense from the perspective of an overall story arc, is what it is. Whereas the problem on the opposite side of things is if you're just going to have two characters randomly hook up or whatever the case be, it does nothing to advance a storyline. And it doesn't matter if they're gay, straight, or not, dude. And that's the entire point. If that's all you're going to do to basically make two characters, to like be like, that's the character arc for that character or whatever, like that's fucking stupid. It's just, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time and it's a waste of resources, is what it is. And that's the problem with Hollywood. It's a trope, is what it is. And it's the trope that they continue to push, it seems like, every time anymore. And that's what I'm saying right there. And that's my biggest issue with it, you know? So, anyway, that's pretty much it, though, is what it is. But yeah, like I said, I think this series is good so far. I think this episode was excellent, personally. And to me, it's like, you know, good on Hollywood for being able to do something tastefully for once, it seems like. Whereas, unfortunately, it seems like so many series don't do that, you know? So, yeah. But yeah, I think Nick Offerman was a great choice to make for this character, honestly. He did a very, very good job in this episode. I'm going to say it right now, dude. Loved the wall of guns he had in this episode. In the basement, actually, it was a sub-basement, technically speaking, because it wasn't a basement. It was actually like a basement underneath a basement, so it was a sub-floor, basically. But yeah, he had the wall of guns that I wish I had right now, honestly, of like rifles and stuff like that. But I will say this, though. Not a fan of like, you know, handguns against the wall, like just sort of hanging there by the trigger guards and stuff. Like, nah, bro. Like, if I'm going to have my handgun set up, it's going to be on like a rack or something like that, like next to each other, so I can just pull one out, basically, is what it is. So, but yeah, other than that, like, I did enjoy that quite a bit, actually. And it was a really interesting show, really interesting episode. I just watched the preview for episode 4, dude, and holy shit, like, oh, it's about to get real good now, dude. Like, ooh. I'm looking forward to next Sunday, honestly, man, because that one, that preview that they were showing there, ooh, man, like, I want that now kind of thing right now, you know? And that's the thing. Like I said, I think episode 1 was okay. Like, it was okay to decent. Episode 2, to me, was kind of like me. It was sort of a throwaway episode, basically, of all 3 of them so far. Episode 3, I think, was the best. And I think episode 4 is even going to be better than episode 3 was. So, but it'll be interesting to see where they go with this, with the overall season of the show and stuff like that. I'm guessing it'll be, I'm honestly guessing this will probably be at least like a 4 to 5 year series, if not longer than that, maybe 5, 6 seasons, something like that, maybe longer than that even, depending on how far they want to go with it, is what it is. But I know for a fact it's already been renewed for season 2 right now, so we're going to get at least 2 seasons of the show right now, so that's good. And I know that they did the second game or whatever where they kind of fucked around and went all woke agenda on that game for some reason, which made no sense at all, and it's just like really stupid, honestly. So, but yeah, to me, it's like, I don't know. I feel like that's the thing. I don't know who wrote the actual show so far, is what it is, but this is what Hollywood needs to do. They need to be like, hey, go find some more writers like this and actually have them write good series again. So, yeah, but like I said, I think this was a good show overall. Yeah, there's not much more to say about it than that, dude. Like, it was a good episode. There was a little bit that I think, like, it just sort of, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think now. Because I'm thinking of, like, there's any time that really dragged on in the episode. I think that maybe there was, like, a couple seconds or maybe a minute or so there that maybe did, but not too much is what it was. But yeah, other than that, like, it was pretty good, though. Like, yeah, I'm trying to think now if there was, like, anything, like, overall that I would have changed out or maybe, like, shortened down a little bit, like, for, you know, time-wise or whatnot. I'm not really sure if there is, honestly. Like, again, there might have been a couple seconds here and there that I trimmed of, like, some scene or whatever, but, like, other than that, like, it was pretty well, like, transitioning and stuff like that, dude, when it came to, you know, scene to scene to scene, basically, is what it is. But yeah, I really appreciated the one part of the show I really thought was interesting was Joel, when him and Tess first met the Bill and Frank characters, and he was basically talking to Bill about like trading stuff for the fencing and stuff like that. And he's just like, nah, bro, I'm good. He's like, nah, it's gonna hold, man. And that's the thing, right? Like, I don't know. Like, actually, now I think about it, the one thing, personally, if it was me, and this is one thing that always bothers me about Hollywood and stuff like that, dude, is I'm not actually going to get like uh people who would be like combat vets and stuff like that or whatever to be like potential um how am I trying to put this now? To be potential, I don't want to say exec producers, but basically like consultant people. That's what I'm thinking of. To be like a consultant on the show or whatever, to be like, okay, how would you guys like set this kind of thing up or whatever? Because my thing is, you think about it, you're sitting there for the better part of 10 years doing whatever. I'm assuming like hunting, everything else like that. But it's like, would you not take the time in that decade to actually make like, I don't know, a fucking turret or some kind of defense between like the outer wall and your inner area and then to your house kind of thing, like some kind of like barricade or something, with maybe like some portholes or something in it to actually have like shooting positions, Because to me, like, who the fuck runs out in the middle of a street and just starts shooting at a fence, dude? Like, that's just retarded. And that's the one thing I will kind of knock him for on that one, dude. Like, nah, I'm gonna be behind a fucking barricade using some kind of an AR that I already have in my collection downstairs, not a fucking bolt gun that I have to pull back the fucking bolt every time to shoot again. Like, you can be precision with a fucking AR-15, dude. Hell, you can be precision with an AK-47 for God's sakes, for that matter, within like X amount of range. And that's the thing. Like, the guy had enough range there. Like, you had the ability to basically shoot accurately with those kind of firearms. So to be using a bolt gun as a sniper rifle is kind of ridiculous, dude. Like, you could use a fucking AR-15 as a fucking sniper rifle for God's sakes, or a M4, whatever it be at that, version, if you have that version of it specifically or whatever. Then, so that did kind of bother me quite a bit that we never saw like actual semi-autos being used in this episode. It was always dude either has a shotgun, or in that case he had the bolt action rifle, or it was a 1911. And again, not knocking choices there. I'm just saying my personal choice would be something different with this dude. My personal choice is like, yeah, I'm going to go for the actual semi-auto that I can use follow-up shots very easily and not have to fucking pull a goddamn bolt back with it every single time. Where I can just be like, kind of shit like that's what it is. And so forth and so on. But anyway. Yeah, other than that, though, it was a good episode, I think. Very interesting. The one thing that did bother me, though, and this is true, this is one thing that did bother me at the very end of it. So you had the one character who was wheelchair bound at the very end, and it's like, okay, so is it ALS or is it Parkinson's that this guy has? Because they never do say which one it was, actually. And that's what bothered the shit out of me. I'm like, which is it, man? Like, how hard is it to say, like, the ALS is going to take me down at some point or something like that? Like, just write that as a fucking, like, single, thing that a character says, for God's sakes, man. Like, a single line or whatever. Or it's like, oh, yeah, the Parkinson's has been around for, like, 6 years now or something like that. Like, it's my time to go or something kind of thing, Like, seriously, like, tell us what the fuck the disease is taking this guy out, man. So that is one thing that did bug the shit out of me, honestly, on that one alone, because it's like, obviously it's something when your arms are all fucked up and you can't really, hold shit correctly or open baggies and stuff like that by yourself or cut your own meat or whatever. But it's some kind of neurological degeneration or something like that, would be my guess. But it's like, again, Parkinson's and ALS are both that fucking thing is what it is, dude. They're both neurological issues that are not curable right now currently. So it's like, which one potentially was it? Or was it like MS or something, for God's sakes, even? So I don't know. Like, that's one thing that did bug the hell out of me, honestly, dude. Because again, it's like when you go from 10 years before that to suddenly the guy fucking whatever. It's the whole thing, man, is what it is. But anyway. To answer the guy who just came in's question, I did not, never will, because I'm a fucking pureball, is what it is, dude. And most people that are part of this right now did not. So, and I'll leave it at that, basically. So anyway, but yeah, overall, like I said, I think this is a good episode and stuff like that. There's not much more to say about than that. We're already 20 minutes into this, so I'd say watch the series, watch this episode if you haven't watched it yet. It's a good show. And overall, it's basically a whole situation there. So, but yeah, we'll be back again later for some other stuff, and probably do another grandstand later, whatever the case be, because more information is coming out now about the whole Nichols case and whatnot. So, But yeah, other than that, this is pretty much the review for the episode 3 of Last of Us. Like I said, good show. Not really going to give away spoilers and stuff like that, like I have with other series and stuff. Really looking forward to 1923 coming back on again because I really want to see what happens with that show. For some reason, I'm addicted to that MILF Manor series now. I fucking watched the first episode the other day, and now it's like I watch the other ones now too, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Because it, like, essentially what that series is it's basically, it might as well be called Horror Island, honestly, because that's really what it is. And it's a fucking car wreck, dude. It's a car wreck that continues to not be able to look away from because it's just fucking such a terrible, terrible thing. So, yeah. And that's the problem with reality shows in a nutshell in this country anymore, dude. It's that kind of bullshit. So, anyway. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that stuff, Steven. So, anyway, that being said, like I said, pretty much this episode was good. Next episode will probably be better. And like I said, I think The Last of Us is a great show so far. There's other good series out there right now, and there's also really bad series out there right now. And unfortunately, Hollywood does what Hollywood does, and some of them will pass, some of them won't pass, et cetera, et cetera. So it is what it is. Other than that, if anybody wants to jump into the back chat and bullshit for about, I don't know, 10 to 15 minutes here, I am going to drop the link in the side chat there. And other than that, that's where we'll be at for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll be back with another grandstand sometime, probably tomorrow. Till then, I will see you guys in the next one.